Thank you, Paul. Easily the most ridiculous introduction I've ever had. Welcome to Google. I'm Matt Bush. I'm Head of Performance at Google UK. Slightly odd title to begin with. Yesterday's dead, tomorrow hasn't arrived yet. Anyone know where that's from? It's a quote from a famous comedian, now dead. Groucho Marx. So absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with search, technology, media, or anything. The reason why I've used it is because it kind of talks to me about the pace of change that we're currently experiencing. Whatever you were doing yesterday, you probably won't be doing tomorrow. What you think you're going to be doing tomorrow, you're probably not going to. And so what I want to talk to you about today is how we can start to understand what consumers are doing so we can stay one step ahead of them, in particular around search. Let's start with the video.
Start to feel a contraction. Your nose and out.
Okay, so it's 6 years since I had my last child. I won't be having any more. But I think those behaviours are behaviours that we're all increasingly familiar with. We see people moving from mobile to desktop to tablet, from in the home to the office to the street, without really thinking about it. As my 14-year-old niece says, if it's not on Instagram, it didn't happen. And I think this kind of consumer desire to catalogue every single moment of their lives is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So with all this data out there, with all this information out there, how do we make sense of it? I think the first thing is just to assume what we don't know. So we can't tell by what device a consumer is using what the context is that they're in. So just because they're on a mobile doesn't mean they're on the go. I use my mobile just as much at home and in the office as I do when I'm on the go. Just because they're on a desktop, it doesn't mean that they're at work. Because they're on a tablet, it doesn't mean they're at home. So we need to find ways in which we can start to understand this better. And we're seeing continued acceleration in this space. So 1 in 4 people in the UK are 3 screeners. That essentially means they're every single day going from tablet to desktop to mobile, or any other 3 screens, maybe one of these. And so, you know, if they're having this constant connectivity and this seamless moving, how do we keep pace with them? How do we understand what they're doing? How do we engage with them when we really need to? Smartphone penetration will be 75% by the end of this year. And the one thing that we do know, the one thing we've seen many, many times before, is that when a consumer gets hold of a smartphone, the first thing they do is search more. The second thing they do is just spend a lot more time on the web. 4G is only going to accelerate this. There's going to be some 4G speeds in the UK towards the end of the year that are faster than many fixed line broadband connections in the UK. So what does that mean to the way that consumers are consuming content and accessing the internet and pulling down information constantly? We recently launched a new product. I'm clearly wearing it. OK Glass, take a picture. OK. My 3 daughters have all had a go as well. That's them up there, an R if you want. Thank you. Although I've just been told off. I showed this picture to one of the glass guides, they're called, and they told me off because apparently kids aren't supposed to wear it because their eyes aren't fully developed till you get to like 14 years old. But anyway, that's by the by. They won't be wearing it for long. So what's glass trying to do? It's trying to take away the technology to give you constant access, seamless access to information and the ability to actually enjoy the moment. There's some videos that I'm happy to bore you with later on. I haven't got them in here today, where I was on the trampoline with my kids, and I'm just taking videos and pictures of them on the trampoline. But I'm enjoying the moment. So I'm not holding a phone, I'm not having a camera, I'm not taking pictures. I'm enjoying the moment with them. But this is just the start. So we've got a number of people, number of developers, Glass Explorers they're called, who are building out apps for Google Glass at the moment. We've already seen knee surgeons in the States. So the preeminent knee surgeon in the States has done an operation on someone, obviously, and talked through what he's doing, which has been broadcast to thousands of students across the world. So learning from experts, they can actually see what he's seeing, and they can learn from the very best. I'm a runner. I'm hoping that at some point we develop some kind of running app. I'd love to be able to run against myself, if I could see myself in this screen for my last run, to try and beat myself, or maybe try and, I don't know, race against a star from the past, Seb Coe running the 800 metres in 1984. Or maybe I could see how many drugs I'd need to beat Tyson Gay or Ben Johnson, someone like that. But this is just the start, and I think, you know, it starts to talk to me about, we've got 3 screens that we know about at the moment that are big. Tablet, desktop, mobile. But what about TV? What about glass? What about your car? What about your fridge? Although why you'd have a screen on the fridge, I don't know. But the point is, this is constantly evolving. So having an all-screen strategy, as we'll see later, is absolutely vital. And it's all about personal data as well. Anyone know what this is? Not the Googlers, because clearly you do. This is the Scanadu Scout. So the closest kind of comparison I can give to Scanadu Scout is the Star Trek tricorder, which basically used to use, Bones used to use it to try and get a reading of people, of their health, vital health signs. So this is a device which comes out in March next year. I'm an early investor, as in I've bought one, haven't got it yet. You put it to your head for 10 seconds on your app, it gives you 12 vital body signs. So, you know, that's the first stage. So somebody's collecting more data about themselves. But what could we do as marketers to try and help them? So let's say, for the sake of argument, Scanadu Scout was telling me I was putting on weight. Could we get Nike to suggest I buy a pair of running shoes? Or for the sake of argument, if I was getting too stressed, could it suggest that I went on holiday, I went on vacation or a spa break? Really, really interesting space. But it's about, at the moment, we're seeing consumers build up more and more data, leaving data breadcrumbs everywhere, and we need to try and understand what they are so we can actually have a better conversation with them. I left this slide in. I thought about taking it out because 2 days ago, iPhone, or Apple launched the latest iPhone, and with it, fingerprint scanning. I don't know if you saw that. So basically, it's about security, and it means that you can only unlock the phone with your fingerprint. Google bought Motorola a couple of years ago, and for the Moto X, we've got a couple of options which not yet released, but potentially could be. So the one on the left is an electronic tattoo, which basically means that if you're wearing that tattoo, you're the only person who can unlock the phone. The one on the right is perhaps a bit freakier. It's actually a pill that you swallow, and it turns you into a walking signal for your phone. So in effect, well, I don't know if someone would actually have to, like, you know, cut you open to access your phone, but I suppose it would be easier than chopping off your finger, which maybe you'd do with an Apple phone. But the point is, it's different ways of keeping data, which is increasingly becoming absolutely vital to all of us, very secure. Some of you may have seen this slide before. So this is the naming convention of Samsung. So Samsung used to call their phone the S11 or II, then they called it the SIII, and then they moved to S4. Lots of reasons considered as to why this was the case. As far as we're concerned, it was all based on Google Trends. Data which exists freely in the market, just Google Trends or Google Insights, either will work. So the line that you see on the bottom is Google Trends for people searching for SII or SIII. As you can see, no one is. The green line is people searching for S2 or S3. As you can see, everyone is. So Samsung obviously thought, well, hang on a minute, if everyone's searching for this, why don't we change the name of the phone and give consumers what they want? So think about where your consumers are actually giving you these clues, giving you these things that you can take to make your products better and more likely to be used. And again, just very, very quickly on this, this is all about marginal gains. So British cycling was never particularly well known until Dave Brailsford, who's the guy on the right, got involved. He brought in this thing called marginal gains, which is where every single piece of kit, equipment, training is all looked at in microscopic detail. And you know, as search practitioners or as marketers, we're always looking for those incremental gains. If you can add 0.1%, 0.2% to everything across a number of different areas, the overall benefit is going to be huge. And this is what they found. And as we know, as a result, Bradley Wiggins won the Tour de France, first person ever to win it, and then a year later, Chris Froome won it, using exactly the same kind of thinking and methodology. Next year, both of them may win it. I don't know how that's possible, but we'll see. So all of this information out there, all of this data out there, consumers using multiple devices all of the time, how on earth do we make sense of it? We've created a format to try and help you make more sense of it. It's called the three A's. All screens, always on or always open, and audience engaged. So the first one is all screens. Here's a typical living room. Husband and wife doing everything they can not to talk to each other. I'm sure you're all familiar with that scene. But this is very, very typical. So the TV's on, no one's really paying attention to it. The lady is on a tablet, the man's on a Mac and a phone. If that's the case, how do we grab their attention? How do we actually make them or give them a message which is relevant enough and captivating enough and grabs their attention for long enough so that we can actually have the impact that we want to have? Well, the first thing to do is just to make sure you're there. So we currently see 43% of top 100 brands still don't have a mobile site. Now, Google's best practice is actually responsive design. I think most of you are probably familiar with that. The point of responsive design is actually that you build a site once and then it fits to every single screen. And if you think about the connotations about things like glass and so on, this becomes really, really, really important. You know, you can't predict at the moment what screens are going to come up in the future, which you might then have to build a site for if you haven't got responsive. And in effect, you know, if you haven't got a mobile site, it's like saying you're closed. We're seeing a huge amount of people in stores who are searching or researching the product that they're in the store to buy and actually changing their mind during that purchasing process. And the reason why they're often changing their mind is because they found a better experience on their mobile phone from a different supplier. So, you know, just think about what consumer impact, both positive and negative, you could have if you have a good or a bad experience on mobile. And bearing in mind, you know, we're starting to see the smartphone become the centre of all parts on the web. So, you know, it's not just the early stages, it's not just the middle stages or the late stages. The smartphone is involved pretty much all the way along the channel. And iCrossing can absolutely help you understand much more about that for your consumers.